Hi, it's Elaine with MCPS Technology. Let's explore Google My Maps. You're probably familiar with Google Maps. I use it all the time to keep from getting lost, but Google My Maps is completely different and it has great implications for educators. So if you're not a social studies teacher and you might be thinking right now, how in the world am I going to use a map in my classroom? So I'm asking you to just keep an open mind. So let's open a brand new My Maps and just find out what that's all about. The best way to do that, in my opinion, and this won't surprise you, is from your Google Drive. So when you're in your email, simply go to the Google Apps Launcher, choose Drive, or you could go to drive.google.com, your choice, and then go to New, and then More, and choose Google My Maps. And that's going to bring up a map relative to your location, which in my case is the United States. So just to take a second to address the fact that you may not think this is for you as a teacher, okay? So think about this. No matter what you teach, you could have your students explore important locations for any kind of event. If you're an English teacher, you could explore the settings of novels you're reading or where characters have lived. If you're a math teacher, you could have students calculate rates of travel. Science teachers, where do animals live? Or any kind of teacher. You could use layers within this program to create a timeline for pretty much anything. There's tons of possibilities. And within this challenge, I'm going to be sharing some links with you that will help you come up with even more ideas. But let's take a few minutes just to explore the major facets of this Google My Maps. It can do way more than we're going to cover here, so I hope you'll get in there and dig into it afterward. So the first thing we should do, of course, is title our map. And I'm just going to call this Places I've Visited. So I'm going to start with something really simple. I could put in a description here if I wanted to, but I'm not going to today. So just a word on layers. So the layers feature is actually quite wonderful. You may not want to delve into layers until you feel really comfortable with the tool in itself. But just know that layers allow you to sort of stack your maps. Like I could make one layer for places I've visited, one layer for places I've lived, and then I could show or not show those layers. As a teacher, you might want to make layers for different decades or when battles were fought, or there's, again, tons of possibilities. So for now, I'm just going to have this one layer, but I'm also going to call it Places I've Visited. Well, and if I could spell it would be helpful. There we go. So right away, let me just show you the big things that this program can do. So one of the places I visited is Seattle, Washington. So if I just put in Seattle, I can click on it and bam, I have a marker for Seattle. There it is. Now this is a tiny bit confusing because here's a marker, but it won't actually show up in my maps unless I add it to my map. So if I click this plus sign, I can add Seattle to my map. And look, if I wanted to, I could change the color of my icon. I could even change the icon itself, but I'm just going to leave it as is, but just know that you've got choices there. You've always got choices with Google. So these three dots, what we call the snowman, this always means you have options about this layer, you have options regarding this whole map, and we'll come back to that one in just a little while. All right, so I've got Seattle, but let's say I want to add a picture that will really make this pinpoint a lot more exciting. I've got some options here. I can change the style, I can edit, I can add an image. So if I click on the camera, I've got tons of options here. I could upload something from my computer. I can use my webcam. I can use the address. I can use my own pictures and so many other things. What I'm going to do is a Google search. So when I was there, I actually had dinner in the Space Needle, which was the coolest thing ever. And the Space Needle kind of represents Seattle, so I'm going to look for a nice image. There's one that shows the skyline and the Space Needle. So here it comes. There's my image. And then in the description, I can say when I visited Seattle, I had dinner. It's really hard to talk and type at the top of the Space Needle. That was awesome. And I could say learn more at this link. And I can actually make a link in here. So I've already found the actual Space Needle official website. I'm going to use Control C to copy that address. And I'm just going to use Control V to paste that in. And I'm going to save it. So then when someone looks at my image here, they can actually click on this link to actually go to the Space Needle website, and it's going to open that in a new tab for them. How cool is that? So I've added one place to my map. All right, let's add another place. Another place I visited is San Antonio, Texas. There we go. And there's my marker for San Antonio. I want to also add that to my map. Okay, so San Antonio. Should I look for a quick image? I would have to put it in again. I know, because it's coming. That's one of the slightly irritating things is that when you search for an image, it's going to still have the information from the last time you searched for an image. Okay, here's some good shots of San Antonio, and I have a picture in there. So another way to look at important things that are actually in the place. Like when I was at San Antonio, I visited the Alamo. So I could write that in my description for San Antonio, but I could also search it separately if I want. So here's the Alamo, and I can actually add that to my map as well. I can look for a, and look, it even shows the alamo.org. It gives me a link to that website from Google Maps. So I can actually view this if I click here. Well, let me put in a picture really quickly because the Alamo is too beautiful not to have an image. Ooh, this one's nice. Okay, there we go. We have an image. And if I view this in Google Maps, look, I get lots more details. It's coming in. Come on, come on. There we go. So look, over here I have a whole scrolling window. I can find out the phone number. I can find out when it's open. And look, I get like a street view and I can scroll in and out. So there's really so many wonderful things happening with this. So then that opens in a new window, so I can just come right back into my map. So some of the other neat things you can do while you're in this program, you've got tons of menus, and here's yet another one. You have the undo and the redo buttons. This select item button just helps you move around. As you can see, I'm using it right now. And of course, I can add markers. I can draw lines. All right, so let's say I own some property in San Antonio. Let's say I own the Embassy Suite. So what I'm doing is just I'm holding my mouse and then I'm letting it go and then I'm drawing around this. And because I've made an actual shape, it thinks I want to do something. So I'm going to call this land I own. If only that were true. I wish I did. And notice how that also appears in my list now. So if a person clicked on that, it would go directly to that. The other thing I'm really excited about is that you can actually measure distances using this program. So think about how that could help your students do things like math. Wow. And at the end, it will tell me how many miles that is. And for people like me who really stink at math, this is pretty phenomenal. But the implications for education are huge. All right, so if I want to preview my map, I can click here to see what it looks like to the end user. Let's see. Wow, that is very cool. And then I can also share my map. All right, so there's a couple of places I can do that. I'm in preview mode right now, so I could share it from here, or when I'm in edit mode, I can also share it from here. So I'm going to click on share, and there's something important for you to know. Whenever you create anything in Google, by default, it is only visible to you and only you can access it. So if you want other people to see your map, you have to change your sharing settings, because this is essentially a Google Doc. Okay, so when I click on share, it's going to take me to my sharing settings. Right now it's private, only I can access it. So if this is an assignment that I need to post, say in Google Classroom, I'm going to need to change that. My teacher won't be able to see it. So I'm going to click change and then choose anyone with the link can view. And I'm going to save that. So now that I've changed my sharing settings, I can simply copy this link using Control-C, and then I'm done. So I can now go to my Google Classroom where my teacher has created an assignment for this, and she wants me to turn it in. She also wants me to put it in the class comment so that other students can see it. So I can use Control-V, excuse me, to do that. And once my classmates click, they can see my map. And there you have it. That's Google Maps. Places I've visited. I hope that you will explore this tool. It is amazing. It is wonderful. And I think that you will find it very useful in the classroom.